as to what I see going on around me in the world that I live in, the world is full of idolatry. Everything in the world is set up different and against God. And I include in that great list all of my Christian friends whom I love and care for. I don't care what church you're going to, Catholic Church, Protestant Church, Baptist Church, Presbyterian, you're a bunch of idolaters. I can cite you instant upon instant upon instant. You are doing that which is contrary to what God has said. But you know what? You've decided that's your definition of right and wrong. You've substituted what God gave as a definition in the 10 commandments, and you come up with your own set of commandments. You come up with your own set of laws, your own set of rules, because in us, we have the spirit of rebellion. We don't want to do what the authority says of us. We want to be an authority. And somehow or another, we appease each other by saying, well, everybody's doing it. I must be okay because I see all my other Christian friends doing the same thing I'm doing. So surely God would not judge all of us. Well, take a case of looking at what God did with Israel. He took the whole nation and kicked them out of the land. How about that? Is that enough to understand his judgment, how far it applies? And Moses knows this is going to happen. I can only imagine how discouraging this must have been for him. And so he makes this fictitious, hypothetical argument for them. He says, I already know the argument you're going to make. I already know how you're going to try to self-justify it. Let me read it to you again. Lest there be any among you, a man or woman or family, in whose heart turns away today from the Lord your God to go and serve the gods of those nations, lest there be among you a root bearing poisonous fruit and wormwood, then it shall be when he hears the words of this curse that he will boast, saying, I have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart. They freely admit they're doing something stubbornly at odds with what God has said. I wish I had a nickel for every time I've sat down with various brethren, many of them church brethren, where I said, this is what the Lord has said, but you are saying something different than what he said. And he says, oh, but I have peace. I have Jesus. I'm okay. He doesn't even realize he's fulfilling what Moses prophesied that the idolaters would say. They're and they think they're getting away with it. They honestly think that. Moses is projecting, hey, you descendants of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you're going to go in the land. Let me tell you what you're going to do. You're going to turn away from the Lord. Your hearts are going to be far removed from the Lord. You're not going to be pursuing what the Lord said, what I taught you. You're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to be sheep going astray, and you'll be pursuing other gods. Years ago, when I was a Baptist, I remember the days I came in and sat down with all my leading Baptist brethren, a whole bunch of other pastors I was with, and I said, hey, guys, I got to ask you something. I said, you know how we always teach that we teach what the Bible says? They said, yeah, that's what they all say. I said, we don't do that. We don't do what the Bible says. We tell everybody that you should do what the Bible says. We don't do what the Bible says. Had an interesting conversation not too long ago in which that the one guy was arguing. He said, well, I keep the 10 Commandments. I obey the 10 Commandments. I said, what about that fourth one? What about Sabbath? I know for a fact you don't keep that one. Well, I still say it's Sabbath. And I said, I don't care what you say. What do you do? I said, do you remember the teaching from Yeshua? He talked about 2 men, a master who hired a man. He said, yes, I will go work in the field, but he didn't go. And there was another guy who first said, no, I'm not going to work in the field, but later he went and did. and he asked the question, who was the righteous one? Who was the righteous servant? They said it was the one who did it. I said, you're giving lip service to the commandments of the law, but you don't do them. I said, are you aware of the fact, I was saying to him, that Sabbath isn't a commandment that came with the 10 Commandments? Are you aware that we call it the commandment of remembrance? Remember to keep the Sabbath holy, because the Sabbath already existed. Did you know that God gave the commandment of Sabbath at the creation? And it was a commandment that was given to all of mankind. All of mankind. With the law, all it did was remember to keep that one. That's all the law said. It already is well known. By the way, Noah knew about that. By the way, Noah also knew the difference between clean and unclean before the law. And Abraham knew about it. Abraham kept the Sabbath. Isaac kept the Sabbath. This is before the law. This is before Moses and the 10 Commandments. It was before that. They knew there were decrees that had come from God because he's the creator. And he said, these are the decrees I want you to keep because I'm the creator. You keep Sabbath because you remember that he's the creator. You don't keep Sabbath so that you can prove you're Jewish or that you keep the Torah. You keep Sabbath to remember the creator. And that was given right at creation. By the way, right at the same time that he explained covenant to us about marriage. He gave the commandments and structure and definition of a covenant with him when he talked about Adam and Eve being married. I said, those are basic things that came from God even before we ever got the Torah. Those are stuff, that's the teaching from the Creator. These people, that are standing up, so I'm going to give lip service. I'm not going to keep the Sabbath. I'm going to do my thing. You are denying the Creator. You're not even denying the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You're denying the Creator at this point. My gosh. You want to talk about idolatry to the nth scale? It's unbelievable.